Hello, everybody, and welcome to this live from Spielwarenmesse in Nuremberg, Germany, at least on my side. My name is Jay, and with me, as always, even when we're continents apart, is my good friend John. John, how you doing?
I'm doing
this morning for you.
This morning for a little bit. I'm doing good. Doing good.
You got a little bit more. It is 5:15 over here in German time, and yeah, this time I decided to stream from the blogger room. So they have like a press room for like real press, then they have a blogger room. So this is what they have set aside for us bloggers.
Oh, and you're all alone.
And that shows you how many of us there are. But no, it's they do treat you well here. So okay, John, the episode we did on Wednesday caught the internet by storm a little bit. Like even Mega J Retro along, who's he asked permission, which was totally cool. And then our friends Toy Habit, so I think are here as well. They like broke down the video we did on Wednesday, which was kind of, I was like, dang, I didn't realize we're getting that line by line. But it was funny hearing those kind of breakdowns because it was trying to base it off of memories that I had just kind of off the top of my head. So, and there's been a lot of questioning around like, Jay, why don't you sneak a picture? Jay, why don't you wear spy glasses? Or Jay, why don't you have a pin with a camera on it?
Don't they sell that stuff right before you walk in?
Exactly. It's right outside. It's right outside the thing. And yeah, it's so yes. Could I have snapped some pictures and shared them on a stream? Absolutely. But I would never get invited to anything ever again. Like there's certain responsibilities if you're representing yourself as press to not break, or at least not respect what their wishes are.
Right. Yeah. Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Exactly. And it's not, and people are like, oh, see, they're Mattel shills. Like, no, that's just being, I don't know, that's just having good journalistic integrity. Just like if they ask you not to take a picture, I'm going to respect that. But it's funny, even some people were upset that I shared the details, but I did that with permission. And then so anyway, there was a lot of critiques. I'm like, Jay, why don't you sneak pictures? And Red, I saw your super chat. I'm gonna plus that in a second. But but it didn't mean I wouldn't stop trying to get officially, allowed to take pictures. So I kind of went through all the different channels, some friends of the channel. I don't know if they want to be named, so I'm not going to name them. But got contacts to get in to actually talk to, or actually be given an official tour by Mattel. And I was able to get that. And it just happened like 45 minutes ago. And my hope was, since I was officially being toured by the head of communications for Europe for Mattel, Anne Polsak, she was very nice. And so I was hoping they'd let me film or even just take a picture. But alas, that was not to be. But I did get a lot more on hand or in hand use. I got to actually see how the Point Dread attached to the Castle Grayskull.
You got to touch it?
No, I didn't touch that one, but I did touch the Snake Mountain playset. So I have updates. So I have updates just about everything that I talked about on Wednesday for this stream. Like literally in the Discord, the Geek Dead Life Discord, I walked out and I just started taking notes on everything because I didn't want to get anything wrong about any of this. So I know the chat is hopping. I do want to plus in Red super chat here, $5 super chat. Thank you, Red. Do German clocks run on metric or Celsius? I don't know. But in Europe they do military time, so it's it's 1800 hours or whatever that is. Anywho, okay. Where the heck am I at? Again, if you missed it, I am in the blogger room. So this is the blogger lounge. And I think there may be like 2 other bloggers here, or YouTubers or whatever. It's kind of they put us under this blogger category. And Playmobil is from, or at least right around Nuremberg. Lego's from here. There's a bunch of toy companies around here. But anyways, okay, that's why there's 2 Playmobil characters behind me. All right, so I got details. I got clarifications on everything that I talked about last episode. John, where do you want to start?
I kind of want to get to the elephant in the room.
Okay.
And that is, did you ask anything about the line being canceled?
I did.
That's the elephant in my room anyway.
No, I did. So, as we were talking, I asked her, I was like, are you aware that in the States, there is, a former Mattel, rep that is saying that the line is going to end in April. First, she gave me a facial reaction, which was like, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Pardon my French. That was the facial reaction that I got.
Mm-hmm.
And then she came back and said, no, she had not heard of that. So it hasn't made its way to the European Mattel team.
Yeah.
And even as she started, said this is the spring releases and there's some fall releases here. And she said, well, as I just showed you, these are releases going through the fall. So that's, right. I think that counters it. But in general, and so, she's like, I think that answers your question.
Mm-hmm.
And then I follow that up with asking, is there a reason why, because this has caused a lot of stress and stuff like that within the MOTU community. And, why maybe, since she's, and again, I'm saying this is theoretical because she hadn't heard of it. It hadn't really made the waves in Europe, I guess.
Right.
But why wouldn't Mattel like officially say something in response?
Right.
And, her answer there was just, really, it's not trying to justify it with a response or anything like that. It's just, we'll let the product speak for itself. We'll let the releases speak for itself. We try not to get into the rumors or anything like that because it's a slippery slope. So That's probably why they're just not engaging with it all that much. But so anyway, so that was the answer there. Does that answer it for you, John? At least just from this person's perspective.
It does. The fact that there's no chatter or it hasn't crossed the pond, that rumor, it just, that's all it is just talk and bad opinion.
Yep. The toy group videos advancing at this point. Don't feed the trolls. It was a very official way of kind of basically just saying that,
right?
Which makes perfect sense. Freaky Tiki, Toy Group Clay actually meant 2024. ZS no elephant. Oh my god. Hey Ralph. In other words, Mattel doesn't see Toy Guru as a threat. But again, it seemed, at least she's in conversation with her, most of the MOTU team is stateside. I don't think they really have anybody, at least how she was explaining it to me. Because she was saying all this stuff is like, the design team in America, the team in America. Like, it was all kind of from there. So it's pretty much, it's very American driven. So it makes sense maybe why it didn't hit the European team
right
as much. The face again, it was just it was just like, it was just very funny. It's a very funny face. All right, what do you want to dig into next, John?
I would say, like, let's talk about what's coming first, like what would be in the spring release.
Almost everything I talked about is spring release. Save for the Snake Mountain, which we know about. And I believe they were kind of back and forth on if Ram Man was spring or fall. I think they were leaning fall for Ram Man, which again aligns with the deep discount listings, all kind of saying June, right? Was it June?
Yep.
So I was like, oh, that makes sense since all of these just went up for pre-orders for different vendors. So that the Snake Tila Origins wave. It's probably spring. I guess would that make it wave 13?
It must. That's got to be wave 13.
Yeah. And then the Masterverse wave, which is very Revolution base. I'll dig into that. And then the new Eternia Whiplash. And then the Point Dread as well are all spring releases. And then I doubled that. I was like, is it okay if I share? It's like, yep, if it's a spring release, dig in. I was like, okay, and everybody already knows about Snake Mountain, so I can talk about that too, right? She's like, yep. I was like, okay. Just making sure. So that also leads me to believe there's going to be official photos and stuff like that very soon.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I understand the disappointment that I don't have video or anything like that yet. But I assume it's going to be coming from Mattel officially at any moment. All right. So what of those things that are spring releases, John, do you want to dig into?
Point Dread.
Point Dread. That's the thing I'm most excited about as well. Yeah. So basically, and is this sharing? Okay, good. This is a vintage one. This is not new one. Again, I'm going to respect their wishes and not take pictures. But okay, some more details. John, you asked if it had a plastic window instead of it just being, no window there, just a frame of a window.
Yeah,
the vintage one. It does have a window. It's like an opaque kind of black gray plastic.
Okay, like a tinted look.
Yeah, like a tinted window, essentially. And when you open it up, there are 2 seats. And then there are 2 side kind of controllers similar to the Wind Raider that people can hold on to. Yes, please hit the like button if you could. Any way to help share or spread the word. Again, a lot of websites carrying the show we did on Wednesday, including friends like Toy Habits and Mega J and people that I've never talked to before, which is totally fine. Share away. Just link back to us, please. So it had little handles. Interesting, the blue satellite dish that's on the top.
Yes.
They had that, but they also had another attachment that went on the top.
Really?
An alternate attachment that was silver. It kind of looked, like an old Chrysler kind of front of the car.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, like a winged thing. I don't know if that was a concept. Maybe it has to be a concept art or like a prototype thing or something. But it was bigger than the satellite dish, and it kind of streamed out, and it almost took up the whole top half of the Point Dread.
Oh wow!
But it looked really cool. I thought it looked really sharp. And then I was like, okay, I got to know. And there was another employee. I was like, I got to know. Does it attach to the top of the castle? And he was like, yeah, you want to see? And I was like, damn right, I want to see. So he clipped it off super easy. What was interesting is it had the clips around the bottom of that would clip onto the gray skull.
Yep.
But it had an additional peg hole that kind of locked it into the Point Dread base.
Huh. So where the turret goes on Grayskull, it will lock in like a secondary piece.
For a second, I thought that would be the case, but on the Grayskull, it's just the same way it did on the vintage one. It just attaches with the little clips around the edge.
Okay.
But it's that same type of plug, but that's on the Point Dread base. So I guess it makes it more stable on the Point Dread base, but it doesn't have really any functionality on the Castle Grayskull, except for maybe adding a little more pressure to the back so it holds in place better.
Gotcha.
And then that plug is part of that black plastic computer console that is on there. Was it off center on the castle? It didn't seem off center. It looked really good. Again, it didn't seem didn't seem so out of place like the classics one.
Right.
I would be surprised if it was all that bigger, if any, than the vintage one. Maybe slightly bigger in some parts, but really similar to the vintage one. Any molded components in the back? No, it looked like a sticker on the back. And I believe that, let me double check the notes real quick from Point Dread, but I believe that was all the updates. Anything else, I guess, that we didn't cover with Point Dread that could be covered?
Does it lock to the perch?
Oh, it seems so, because it was I should have double checked, but it seemed like it did, because it didn't flop off or anything. It wasn't like a loosey-goosey like the vintage one.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And then I also asked, would it fit on the vintage Castle Grayskull? And what was funny is, you know, and there might have been a little language barrier there too, but it's like, this is the vintage Castle Grayskull. I was like, no, I mean like the one from the 80s. It's like, oh no, probably not. I was like, okay.
Oh yeah, there's no record included with this, like the original one.
They didn't have those details. They said it's a spring release, but they didn't have any packaging. They didn't say anything about a you know, pack-in figure. I know some people said at $44 it should come with a figure, but I don't know. I feel like at $44 it probably doesn't. But you know, they didn't have any figure there displayed with it, so my guess is it probably doesn't come with a figure. But I don't know. I don't know for sure. But there was no figure displayed with it.
Right, and no packaging.
No packaging. If we know our friend Nate Barch, I would hope he's involved. I asked about Snake Mountain because they had the package there. I was like, do you know if Nate Barch is doing the art? And she's like, you have to ask the American design team.
Yeah.
She read it as like, you have to ask your friends in the American design team. I don't know. Like, okay.
Although Nate is now a full-time employee of the Four Horsemen Studios. So
really?
He may not be able to do other contract work.
We need to get Nate on real quick and ask him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was only like a couple weeks ago where the announcement was made that he's working full-time for Four Horsemen.
That's awesome. Well, congrats to him.
Mm-hmm.
Well earned. Let me just make sure. Point Dread, plastic for windows, two different attachments on top. Easily attaches to Castle Grayskull. Plug to keep it attached to Point Dread base. These two. Yep. Those are the additional add-ons here for Point Dread. Let's see the chat.
I'm excited for another attachment for the top. That's awesome.
Oh, something I don't know who said it. Could it do both the Wind Raider and the Point Dread? Yeah, it could, because you have two peg options on either turret, right? Of the castle. Because on mine, I have the Wind Raider on the gun side, or traditionally the gun side of the castle. So you could do the Wind Raider there and still have the Point Dread on the other side of the castle.
That's cool. That's cool.
All right, John, what do you want to do next?
Let's go into it's going to be Attila, Snake Tila, Man at Arms, and who else was part of that wave?
All right, yes. So this wave is the Snake Tila, which is pretty much just a repaint of the other Tila.
Right.
It looks really sharp, though. It looks really cool. Better than some of the other repainted Tilas. It looks very much like the 2000X Tila.
Okay.
The Snake Tila. And then the 2000X King Randor. Again, almost Origins body, but all of the details of the 2000X one. So not very little Burger King feel. And then I'm going to call it either Snake, to your point, John, either like Snake Armor Man at Arms or the 2000X Man at Arms. And you know, the Snake Tila and Randor looked like productions, like, you know, off the line production samples.
Yep.
The Man at Arms and the Eternian Guard with the snake head looked more like a paint prototype, or like, you know, almost like a kit bashed kind of figure, if that makes sense. So I wonder if they'll do more tweaks with it, because the Man at Arms basically just looked like the normal Origins Man at Arms with the mustache, but it had blue pearlescent armor that was painted. It wasn't casted in that. So again, that makes me feel like this was like a paint prototype or something.
Right.
And he had like an extra like gun blaster thing they held in his hand, like a 2000X kind of style weapon. But the armor wasn't really, it looked like the same Origins armor. It didn't look like they changed it to be more 2000X accurate.
Right. It didn't have like he had like a huge shoulder cauldron thing guard.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I wonder if that's going to get tweaked more before, but if it's a spring release, I would assume they want to get on that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if they're just swapping colors, I mean, the tooling is done. If it's just a matter of changing the colors of the armor, you know, I'm sure it's a faster production than new tooling.
Yeah, but I would say out of all of them, it was like the least impressive because of that.
Right.
And then the other one, it wasn't the Hordak or the Horde Trooper, Snake Horde Trooper that has been going around. It was an Eternian Guard with the Eternian Guard armor, with a snake face, with kind of a guard in front of the face.
And we got one of those in classics as well too.
Yep. So again, I'll be curious to see if that ends up being the wave when it's all said and done, because it was like 2, it was like, oh, these look, again, like you took them off of a card, they're ready to go. And then the Man at Arms and the Eternian Guard didn't seem that finished, if that makes sense. All right, John, what's next?
I'm really excited for Whiplash. Like, that's probably one of my most anticipated past Point Dread, because Whiplash is one of my favorite characters.
Yep.
And that's also a spring release.
Yeah, it's spring release. Yep.
And you said that one is a new Eternia?
It is new Eternia.
Okay.
So we'll go to that one next. I did want to go. There's another question here, and I'll make sure I get these. Did Mattel confirm that Snake Teal, 2000X Snake Armor, Man at Arms, 2000X Green Randor, Snake Eternian Fast Guard are going to be the same wave? Trying to figure out where Duplico fits into this. That's where I don't know for sure. She said spring release for that whole set. Whether or not that ends up being a total wave, I don't know, because we have seen the Duplico. And so maybe the Eternian Guard, the Man Arms are a later concept for maybe wave 14, and the Randor and Snake Tila are wave 13.
That would make sense not to have such a snake heavy wave.
So I again, she didn't know it by wave. I asked. She said these are spring releases, which I think could take us through to July, because we've seen the listings on these are June. So spring happens later in Europe. So I don't know. I'm just kidding.
No word on deluxes.
Nothing. So all that, nothing. There was no deluxes there. No deluxe Origins. No deluxe. Well, if you want to count, I guess we did have deluxe Masterverse with the Ram Man and Whiplash. So let's dig into Whiplash. So after we did that stream, I had a few people ask if it was based on some of his concept art, and they shared a video. I believe Mattel did this video of his different art. I think this is like his Filmation concept, and then let me pull this up. Yeah, and then we have like one of his initial drawings. So at first, when I first saw the video, I was like, I just don't think it was that. But seeing it again, his additional armor is absolutely inspired by this concept art.
Really?
But instead of looking very like court jester-y or medieval armor or whatever, kind of just like a jester, whatever. It is more angular. It's more aggressive. It looks more like armor versus this that kind of looks silly to my mind. But it's clear it's inspired by, because it's purple. It has some the trimmings, and the helmet. He does come with a helmeted head, and it has the spikes like this, but it looks more like metal armor versus kind of like how they've done with some of the other new Eternia figures, where they've taken the concept and made it a bit more aggressive or a bit more whatever.
Right. Yeah. That whatever you would even call that thing around his neck, it does look very court jester like.
Yes. So it was funny, like they said, like, it doesn't look like this, and I was like, I don't think so. But then seeing it again in person, it absolutely is inspired by it, but a lot more angular, a lot more aggressive than this, which I think was probably the right move, because I think that looks kind of silly. The other thing, I mean, maybe people are like, no, it's really good. Oh man, John, a lot of people were ticked off by what I said about Kobe, that Lego-ish company.
Yeah, there was a lot of a lot of comments that that is not knockoff. That's the real deal.
Yeah, and I will say I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend anybody, but as a parent that has bought those sets for his kids and had to help my son put them together, they sure felt like knockoffs when I was putting them together. Anyway, okay, moving on. So the Whiplash, the box is not the super wide deluxe box. It is the same kind of one that Too Bad came in and
Okay.
Beastman came in. So which I prefer that style box anyway.
Right. Rather than like the Hordak and She-Ra.
Yeah.
It's too wide for those figures.
Now again, the art, and I couldn't look at it up close, but it looked Nate Barch-esque. Because you can tell when Nate does it or somebody else does it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm sure if he did it, it was before, he made his career change.
Yeah. But I hope he's still gonna do some master stuff. Like he can still freelance with them.
Me too. I mean, he's got to do the Snake Mountain box.
He's got to do Snake Mountain. He's got to do. Okay, Nate's like, stop booking me for all this time, guys. But I just, he's so good.
He says, "You know how many figures the Horsemen make? I don't have time for Mattel."
So it's a smaller New Eternia box. It looks Nate Barch art esque. And again, it's coming. It's supposed to be a spring release. It is a New Eternia release, and the armor is inspired by this, but it doesn't look like this. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It makes sense.
And
all the armor is removable.
Yeah, it was like removable. Now it would seem like they had two heads, one with that helmet and one without it.
Mm-hmm.
And people were asking, does the tail, detach in the box? It wasn't a final box. It was almost just like a cardboard box, and then he was just sitting in there. So it wasn't a final production. It didn't have all the inserts and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I assume the final production one there, the tail will be detached, and you have to attach it.
Yep.
Because there's just no way it would fit that because it's a smaller box. But funny enough, the Ram Man is in the wider box, that wide box.
Really?
Yeah. But it is smaller. It's smaller than Whiplash, and it's smaller than I double checked. Like I reanalyzed with my eyes. It looks fantastic. Like, don't get me wrong. I think it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
It is a New Eternia. It's not Revolution. It's a New Eternia release. So again, I think you can look to concept art for inspiration for that blue cross armor that kind of goes across him. He has multiple heads, and the legs articulate and everything. But he is smaller. He's smaller than the classics one.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, smaller than Too Bad and Whiplash.
Right. Is there any like drastic uniform changes for him? Because he always has like a big skirt on. That's what I always to me, that's what it always looked like. Just a big skirt.
Ah, damn. I guess I didn't think about that. It didn't seem like it. It seemed very traditional Ram Man, the kind of the ribbed pants,
mm-hmm.
and the boots and the metal armor, the metal head. It was very classic looking Ram Man.
Okay.
But it's not. It doesn't have the same impact as the classics one.
Mm-hmm.
Like where I think this Whiplash is better than classics, much like the Too Bad I think is better than classics. I don't think the New Eternia Ram Man will beat it, but I could be wrong. We don't know till we have it in hand and can have it side by side. But that original Ram Man, I don't know about you, John. That's one of the top. That's gotta be a top 5 classics figure, right?
Yeah. He's still. Where is he? He's still here.
Yeah. And again, Ram Man in the comics and stuff is smaller. Like he's not as big as that classics one made him to be, right? So,
right, yeah, he's always like even though he always like is extendable, like when he shoots off in the cartoon, like he's super squat.
Yeah. So I think it fits in with that. It's just, again, that classics Ram Man's so cool. And yeah, great point, Toy Habits. Yeah, first deluxe wide New Eternia figure. Yeah. At first, again, that first take, I was like, oh, they're both wide, but no, the Whiplash is the smaller one. and again, I don't think it needed to be wide on the Ram Man, and maybe they'll change it because they said that was later down the line, so they may switch to the smaller box when it's time to. Okay, those are the 2 deluxe figures. Anything seeming left that we don't know out of those, John?
No, nope. No, I don't think so.
And it was the, I think somebody said Dr. Pepper colors. It's Dr. Pepper colors, it's not the orange one. Or the more classic colorway. So Robert, those are the deluxe. Those are the 2 deluxe figures they had there. They didn't have any deluxe origins. So I know there's listings for deluxe origins. They didn't have any of those there. All right, we have Snake Mountain left, John, and the Masterverse wave. Which one do you want to dig into?
Let's save Snake Mountain for last.
Okay. Can we display Whiplash? Yes. So much like the other new Eternia releases, right? You kind of can do 2 looks. You can do this new Eternia look or a more classic look. And so they had alternate heads. You take the armor off. So yeah, you can alternate between the 2.
Awesome.
And it looks like all new tooling. Again, it reminded me of like it had the presence of Too Bad to me, just seeing it. Okay, so Masterverse. This was the one where I was a little fuzzy on Wednesday.
I remember there was one you couldn't remember.
Yep, and I remembered it after we came online or went offline. Okay, so it's 4 figures. The one I casually unveiled since nobody knew it yet was Clamp Champ. And so I know that took a lot of people by surprise because that wasn't listed anywhere, that wasn't leaked anywhere or anything like that. But according to them, it is a spring release. And these are all really paired well together. This is for Eternia. So this is very meta because this is their update based on the video we did on Wednesday. But all 4 of these Masterverse figures are Revelation style or Revelation or Revolution style.
Okay.
So not using the 40th buck, nothing like that. They are Netflix series style figures. So the Clamp Champ looked great. His clamp looked great. I mean, he had a pretty classic look on this in Revelation. And so I think it looks really good. But some people don't like this more slender builds on those, but I don't mind them, and I thought he looked pretty good.
No, I don't mind it. Once they're all together, they look like they belong that way.
Yeah, it looks good. And the paint, like it had like a pearlescent for the lighter blues. It looked really good. Michael R is asking, why did you talk about reveals even though there's a non-disclosure agreement? I have permission. I asked. I was like, you could talk about these. So I have permission. I wouldn't do this if I didn't have permission.
Right.
I'm not sharing pictures. I didn't take pictures because I didn't have permission.
Copyright strikes are thrown around on YouTube like crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I got copyright struck for showing somebody else's picture for a damn turtle concept art. So I don't want to do things that I'm not allowed to do. So yeah, the Clamp Champ. These are all Revolution style figures. Clamp Champ look great. And then the other one was the Merman. The Merman, again, is because there was a flashback, as a lot of people stated after the fact, in Revelation that had his more classic look. It is that look. It is the Revolution. Damn it. I love the different names for the seasons, but they're close. They're very close. So I would say it's the Revelation flashback Merman, but it's very classic looking armor. It looks good.
Cool. Any alternate looks, or is it just the one straight look?
It seemed like just the one straight look. Mike, I mean, I'm not going to argue with you, but you can either believe me or not believe me. And again, I know they were really strict. So I had to pull so many, all these favors and connections just to get the tour today. So this wasn't without permission. So anyway, classic style merman. And it looks good. Again, I know some people might be disappointed it's not the 40th style. Honestly, it was surprising there was no 40th style, but again, this was what the American team sent the Europe market to share.
Right.
And then the other the Faker, again, pink armor on the top, Revolution style. Not really much else to say there, but there was a fourth figure that I was fuzzy on.
I remember I had asked if it was Grizzlor because it was Grizzlor and Buzz-Off listed in the deep discount pre-orders.
It's neither. Now, that doesn't mean that those aren't also going to come out. They just didn't have them there.
Okay.
But the fourth figure has been talked about on like for Eternia. This is a picture. It is the Hordak servants or whatever Skeletor, whatever they're calling it. This dark season 2 Revelation Skeletor. And this at first when we went offline, I thought it was a laser light Skeletor.
Yep.
The reason being that his Havoc staff had a red top to it, like the ram's head was a red translucent plastic. So I was like, oh, this is amazing. It's a laser light Skeletor in Masterverse. But I guess clearly there's red appointments here on this Skeletor. So that's just kind of, they probably, maybe an homage, maybe it'll have that. But the staff was really cool because it kind of looked like laser light Skeletor. It was purple, but the Havoc, the ram's head was translucent red. And it had the shawl just like this. And it had a different, at least a lot of people didn't like the first Revelation. God dang it. Revelation. Style skull, and this skull looked different. It looked better under the hood. And yeah, it looked really good. It looked really good. I like this look. I'm excited to see season 2 whenever we get to it, so we can see the Skeletor.
Yeah, I like the red details.
We're going to see Mike appear in the background with some Mattel police pointing at Jay. Again, I want to be invited back next year. Okay, so I'm not trying to make anybody mad. Okay, $10 super chat from Toy Habits. Thank you, Toy Habits. Thank you for bringing the MOTU heat and hot off the presses info to everyone. You appreciate the MOTU community loves you. Thank you so much. So okay, that's all the anything lingering there, John.
Nope. I think we got everything so far.
Okay. And okay, so that just leaves Snake Mountain. And did I save it? It was so funny because she talked to me about Grayskull Con. Because at the table there, she's like, "Here, you can have this. It's in German. I don't know if you can read it." But so yeah, this was their little pamphlets they gave away at, I believe, German Comic Con in Dortmund. But they had this sitting there on the table. Unfortunately, I was like, "Oh, that's nice," but there's nothing new in here. But it's very cool. I'll take pictures and share them on the socials. But it's really cool. There's this checklist of the Origins releases.
Man, how come we can't get something like that here?
Right? Come on.
It's so reminiscent of like the old insert posters that came with Grayskull.
Exactly. This is like straight. That's straight out of.
Yep. Yeah, the background's the same.
Yeah. Because I asked a few times, like, "Are you sure I can't do pictures? You sure I can't do it?" It's like, "Here, you can take this." I was like, "Fine."
You really want pictures, don't you? Here, this has pictures.
Nice pictures. But let's see. Okay. Anyway, so that was on the table because there's also the Snake Mountain on the table. I actually got to touch it, to play with it. and it's amazing. The look, what I said is accurate, right? It's not the pink, very almost spot on to a vintage one, where it's like that kind of that grayish and dark, kind of black little wash here and there. The bridge, it is famous for breaking, right? The little whatevers,
Yeah,
little,
like the upright
railings.
posts. Yeah, the
Yeah.
railings.
They did him in green, and it's this more pliable green plastic and like a brown bridge. It just looks really cool. But the thing that blew my mind, John, and I again, she had that face of just like, this guy's a nerd. The chains are famous for breaking.
Yep.
But they made them super rubbery, so they're very pliable. Like they hang like chains should, but they were very rubbery. Like they seem so much more functional than that. But because I was like, they're like, you can touch it. I was like, okay, and I went to touch the chains, like, because these are famous for breaking. And I was like, it's really rubbery. And then she was great with facial expressions. She's like, ugh, he's a big nerd. And yeah, so I thought that was again a brilliant engineering choice. The like famous break points on the vintage one, the engineering has improved.
Yeah.
And then the snake looked awful, but it's perfect. It's pitch perfect, but it is bigger. It's bigger. It actually, it's that green snake. It looks more mechanical. It's basically the same design that we saw, but the one we saw there was like all weird, but this thing kind of just curves around and it's positioned perfect. And I gotta say, that little extra like mountain peak they added to the gateway really adds some nice height to it. Like it looks more like an imposing mountain.
Yeah.
With that, maybe a mega snake mountain. I don't know that one, but yeah, rubber chains. And then on the back side, yes, it doesn't have a mic. There's no functionality for a mic. But they added a ledge where the mic is, so you can stand your figures up there. The moat with the interchangeable figures that you can snap into them works really well. The trapdoor works really well. I'm able to move the jail cell and all that kind of stuff works really well. It was just it was pitch perfect. And I was like, and again, it's maybe a language barrier thing. I was like, so what are the dimensions of that box? I'm looking right at it, and like, what do you mean dimensions? Like, like inches or centimeters. I don't know. Like, what's the layout? And he's like, I don't know. I don't have a
tape measure.
Like, a tape measure. I was like, damn it. But it is smaller. It's short. It's long. It's maybe not even as long as the Gray Skull, and not as tall.
Yeah. So it might be just more assembly required when you take it out.
Yep, 100%. It seems like that mountain peak piece is something you have to add on. Really, it's probably just the base shells, and everything else you probably have to put together. I wish I had my soundboard. There's so many, probably that's what she says, I could have thrown in. Joey girl, you are liking the flaccid feeling chains. How many likes do you need to steal the Playmobil princess? Can I pick it up? Let's see.
Don't break it.
It's probably really heavy. Oh no, it's really light.
You said that with the enthusiasm, like it is coming home with you. It's
it's like so light it could probably easily break. So no, that would not. Don't do it. No. So yeah, alarm sounds. Whip, 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 whip. That was the test.
Playmobil police come in.
Yeah. We told you not to touch the toys. Oh God. Yeah, I need 2 more plane tickets for my royal children, please. Oh my God. No, they had a MOTU Mega Construct section Actually, I don't know what is and what isn't, but is the Power Sword, has that been unveiled for Mega Constructs?
I don't.
That's the only thing that I didn't know off the top of my head I hadn't
I,
seen yet.
I haven't seen it. I mean, the Havoc staff has been out for quite a while, but I
Havoc
don't know about
staff.
the sword.
Okay, then maybe that's the new thing. They did have a Power Sword, Mega Constructs Power Sword. They had the Snake Mountain there, but we already know the Snake Mountain, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's okay. Nope, that's new. Okay, well there we go. That's new. It looked great. And it seemed, and I'm trying to remember now, but I think it was both the purple one and the silver one. So maybe they're gonna do both. Is there any cool swag or items to purchase? No. I'm gonna do a video just on the whole experience. It's really weird having covered conventions for a long time, or especially San Diego Comic-Con for a long time, even before Geek Dad Life. But it is super secretive. It's just so it's like that. Yeah, was it a 40-year-old virgin, the eBay store, where it's like everything's there, but you can't buy it.
You can't buy it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, how much
you
is
can go
this?
on eBay and buy it.
Yeah. Right. It's very much like that. Which again, it's an industry trade show. So that makes sense in that aspect of it. But it is hard to be like, that's amazing. Oh my God, John. I didn't even realize. Remember the Noble collection? In Sky Mall, you know, they had the Harry Potter stuff, Lord of the Rings stuff. I thought they went out of business with Sky Mall, but they're still around and they had a whole display. So I was like, hey, Noble collection. I haven't seen you since Sky Mall 2013. But they're the people that make those bendy figures, all those licensed bendy figures.
Yeah, like they have like DC. They have a bunch of licenses.
Yeah, tons.
Really.
That's the Noble collection. So so they had those there, but the thing I like the most is they had a prop replica of the Jumanji game, and it's like dead on exact. And it's you can purchase it right now. It's like, how have I not known Noble? So anyways, I told Colleen, I was like, I want that for my birthday. I want Jumanji. I need Jumanji for my birthday. So who invited me to this show? Spielwarenmesse, the crew here. One of the members of our community works for them, and asked if I would be up to taking a flight to Germany, because there's not a lot of coverage of this thing, and I see why, because they're so secretive. Also, all of these companies don't know what to do with me because they're not used to having press here in this capacity. And so his hope was bringing somebody out here could maybe get more awareness of it. And since New York Toy Fair is now in September,
yep.
This could be that February big show. And let me tell you, I've been in the Javits Center. It is like 1/10 the size of this thing. So there's no way New York Toy Fair comes even close to the size of this, in terms of companies that are here. It's bigger than San Diego Comic-Con in terms of actual convention square footage. It's the biggest thing ever. So I'm very thankful I was invited. The hope is that, this can be a reoccurring thing. And maybe, if I don't know if this will go well, they may be like, Jay, you pissed off too many people. You can't come back. But maybe it goes well. Maybe we can bring some more people. Maybe you, John, come next year, or more of our friends in our toy tuber group. But it's been amazing. I love Germany. It's my first time being here. My wife and I have had a blast. We've gone to castles. We've eaten schnitzel and bratwurst and drinking the beers and eating tons of great food. And
dry January ended just in time.
It ended a little bit early because I think we got here January 30th, but whatever, it's been great. So Retro Action UK, they clearly didn't give all this information. Oh, did I forget to mention our strict camera policy under the Photography Act of 1992? Yeah, honestly, the crew here was shocked as well as at how secretive they were. Because the friend of the show, he's doing filming and stuff for this event, and he hasn't been able to get into barely anything to film as well. He did get into Hasbro, which I was not able to do, but he did say Hasbro didn't have anything new. The new stuff So they have like, it's already a walled thing. So you get into Hasbro, it's already walled in. So you can't see it from the outside anyway. But then there's also like a walled off section on the inside. So all the stuff that was out, we already know about. It's nothing new. But there was these rooms with these locked off doors, and like one of the guys who's like their host or whatever, great guy. He was like, he just looked that way, and the security guard wanted to bounce him.
Really?
Didn't even see really. He looked when the door was opening, and the security was like, "Do we need to take you out? Like, does this guy belong here? Does he need to be?" And the was like, "No, he's with the fair. He can stay." So yeah, the Jazzwares, they were just like, F you. To be honest, Mattel was very like, no way. You're not, no, you can't come in here. So it took a lot of finagling to kind of get an official tour. I was hoping they let me do a camera with it, but thankfully at least I got that. And hopefully it's the start of something and maybe more type of coverage that we can do from here that maybe isn't so secretive. Hasbro, look what you can break this year. Do they light up when they see your last name? Gladfelter's a Swiss name, I believe. Swiss German, or like the German side of Switzerland, I believe. There's a town called Gladfelden, and they all come from there. Yeah, exactly. Hasbro's super secret probation. Anyway, that's it, John. That's everything that I can share from this show. Anything else? Any other questions, anybody, before I sign off? John, any questions from you?
Has there been any company that you have seen that you weren't familiar with that you took interest in?
Oh yeah, so many. There's so many like Lego kind of companies, which was kind of shocking. There's this one Lego company called Laws, and they all just do miniature-ish versions of Lego sets, but they're all scaled down. They're like maybe 60% of what a Lego set would be.
So it's kind of like what Lego is doing right now.
Kind of, but it's like a weird in between where they're like, it's a whole castle, but it's like, 60% of the size, and it's just all miniaturized. And I was like, these are really cool. But no, there's I keep running into things like, it's so cool. Oh God, there was I was gonna post it on social media. Maybe I'll do it in After Dark. But there's this like toy gun company that makes toy guns that still look like toy guns from the 50s. That blew my mind.
That's cool.
I was just like, this is clearly not for the US. And literally every company that has ever made a toy, I think, is here. There's no stone unturned, I feel like. It's crazy. Kind of, yeah. It was really neat. They did their guide, or their fair guide on a USB drive. Because there's like, do you want the printed one? And it was like this thick, and I was like, no, I don't want to carry that around. But I'm also kind of like, I don't want to plug that into my computer. What if there's some virus on it or something?
Right.
Which is silly, but like, it's one long ploy to take over computers.
Give it to the American.
Yeah, exactly. He looks like a sucker. Oh man. So Nerd with Attitude, Colleen couldn't even get in. Again, like the security for these buildings. And now when I do my recap video, I'll show videos of the outside and stuff like that. It is so intense. Security is insane. There's some that are more open, and so I shot videos of the floors, and there's things that you can see. But they're very averse to like me sitting there and filming with a camera for any extended period of time for most of these companies. But in the ones where they really want to keep it secret, it's like a walled off. Like this whole Nuremberg city is surround. It's one of the biggest castles in Europe, and it has this huge wall. It's a walled city. It's really cool. But it's kind of seems like every one of these big takes that approach, which is this big walled off. You cannot come inside. Yeah, Cosmics for Spielwarenmesse is traditionally for buyers of big stores, not nerds and fans. Exactly. But I do know, at least from some people that work for the fair, they'd like to have more awareness, and that's why I got invited out to do this thing. But so it's no fault to these toy companies. They just don't know what to do with me.
Right.
And there's like, what? Why are you
here? You could be breaking the barrier and opening the door for more
my hope.
tubers next year.
Yeah. So this is the YouTube room for YouTubers. Look how many of us there are. But anyways. So anyone want to buy a lot of sets, just contact me. Oh, there you go. He's a distributor. They're really good quality. Okay, they seemed really good quality. They didn't seem cheap at all.
Are any licensed, or are they just like sort of themed building sets?
They're
like
all just kind of
castle
themed
or city.
Yeah, one of the coolest ones was this Titanic. It was like a sinking Titanic, and they had Rose and Jack like in the water on the little door or whatever. I don't think it was licensed, James Cameron Titanic license, but they had him there. I thought that
it's
was
just
fun.
a sinking ship with people.
Yeah, it's like it's partially in the water. It was cool. It was neat.
That is cool.
But yeah, it's been a ton of fun. It's been a blast. I hope to get the invite to come back next year. And again, thanks to Mattel for at least letting me go in an official capacity and talk to the head of communications for them. In short, Jay, the first of his kind. In short, they don't want to address it specifically to the whole Toy Guru thing, but they said there's releases through the fall. So if that doesn't answer your question, if the line's going to end in April, I don't know what will. And all the things they did reveal look really cool. My favorites, Point Dread looks amazing. The new Eternia Whiplash looks amazing. And Snake Mountain, chef's kiss, is looking so good. So good. From Santee to Germany. Hey, I like the rhyme there. I mentioned that I've lived in Santee for a long time. But anyways, that's a suburb of San Diego, everybody. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. Anything else I should say, John? What?
Joey Curiel, German
What
fan.
Say?
Hey guys, I am your pixelated Dan.
Oh Lord. Oh man, I was trying to do my best pixel Dan. I was like, okay, I got like he sets the highest bar, right? He sets he sets the standard for this kind of stuff. But alas, I couldn't quite reach the heights of the great Pixel Dan. But Santee Claus. But yeah, it should be. It's been a ton of fun, and hopefully more to come next year, and more coverage from GDL at different toy fairs. This is the first one, and yeah, cool.
And you went the furthest to get there.
I did. Jet lag's so bad, John. I'm like so tired. But we just kind of, what's so funny is like I'm exhausted until it's time to go to bed. I'm like, I'm awake. Let's go. And then I can't go to sleep.
There's a schnitzel calling my name.
There's a schnitzel ready for me. You guys doing Toy Geek Sunday still? I'm not 100% sure. We'll kind of have to maybe play it. Maybe we'll do it earlier Sunday. I feel like this has been an hour episode, so this is just about a full length Toy Geeks, but there's still things to talk about. G.I. Joe brought their A game on G.I. Joe Day.
Yep.
Like, damn, like just Star Wars just like just destroyed. But Star Wars I thought had some pretty solid reveals as well.
Yeah, got the N1 Starfighter.
Yeah. So I think maybe we should maybe do something on Sunday. Maybe it'll be earlier on Sunday. So because I leave 3 a.m. in the morning Germany time. And then flying into Paris. We'll be in Paris for a minute, and then Paris to Raleigh, which is apparently a 9-hour flight. I don't know why that's so long, but it's going to be great. So what's funny is leaving that early, but I still get into Raleigh if we don't get any delays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday.
That's right.
So crazy. So 4 Horsemen test shot sales soon. Ooh, that's exciting. Yep. It was the best of GDL. It was the worst of GDL. You guys are live. No, listen, I will not rest as long as there's toy things to talk about here at GDL. That's the GDL promise.
Yep. We will be here morning, noon, and night.
Yes, from any continent. It will be 1 hour of Stump That John. So yeah, I think maybe, John, we do one on Sunday and we just cover the rest of the stuff, like the G.I. Joe stuff and whatever. But maybe it'll be earlier on Sunday, not 9 p.m. Eastern.
Sure.
Does that work for you, John? Maybe?
Yeah. Yep. We'll make it work.
We'll make it work. And so until then, we'll see you Sunday. Be on the lookout for a post for that. Also, I'll do a kind of recap video of my experience of being Spielwarenmesse. A lot of people say, like, how do you pronounce it? It's Spielwarenmesse. Spielwarenmesse. That's how you pronounce it. That's part of, like, that's why they brought me here, so I could teach people how to pronounce it. Anyways, we'll see you all then. And until then, hasta luego and goodbye. Have a great rest of your Friday, everybody.